it's Gary here from BookMob, episode 19. Today I have a special guest. I spoke with the international writer Branka Cubrilo, and last year I read Branka's novel Dethroned, which we talk about in our talk we had. And in fact, Dethroned was published in 2018. And if you look on her publisher's website, it is the #1 bestseller on her publisher's book list. So that's pretty good. She's got Brankas has a new book coming out. Well, I think it's in the next month or two. It's called Requiem for Barbara. So hopefully you can, when that comes out, you can chase it up and give that a read. I haven't had a chance to read it, but all I can say is that Dethroned was one of the most sort of, fascinating and intense books I read about the Yugoslavian war between the states in Yugoslavia after the fall of the Iron Curtain in 1990s. And it's a fascinating book about a sort of an artist who becomes a soldier, who becomes a brute, who becomes ugly in his character. But read it; it's a really good book. Branka, as I said, is an international writer. She's mainly published in the USA and Europe, and in Australia. And she's traveled well. Lived in Spain, lived in Croatia, lives in Sydney currently, and writes here as well as when she's overseas. And we had a really fascinating talk, and it was fun to meet her. And as anything with BookMob, it's about readers and reading and books. It's about saying to you, hey, take a chance on books, take a chance on authors you've never heard of, or read more of authors that you've heard of. I read somewhere a critique of one of her books. I think the critique was for the book called The Mosaic of the Broken Soul. And the critic said, this will have a unique place in the bookshelf of your mind. Love that, because books live in us, and as well as they live on the shelves. So without further ado, let's go to the videotape and enjoy our talk with Branka Cubrilo. Thanks. Let's go to the videotape. Hello, Branka. Thank you for joining us today on BookMob. It's really nice to meet you. And for our viewers out there, can you just let us know a little bit more about yourself, your background, your writing history, and just let it go. Just let it flow.
Okay. Hi, Gary.
Hello.
And hello to everyone who is going to watch and listen. So, of course, my name is Branka Cubrilo, and I'm a novelist and short story writer. History, well, I was born in Croatia, and sometimes in, February 1992, I migrated to Australia. I suppose for better opportunity, or I started working at SBS as a journalist and a radio producer, and I worked there for quite a number of years. Then I studied English language as well, and then one day I decided to be actually interpreter and translator. So this is my profession as well. I'm interpreter for several languages, and I'm translator. I translate literature and documents and other.
Oh, that's great. So you have a lot of experience with words and language. So how many languages can you speak, Branka?
Look, fluently, really, I can speak 5.
Oh, wow.
And I think I can manage. like my Spanish is not that bad. I can
that's really good.
Everything 100%, and maybe I can speak but 65%, let's say. But other languages, I'm quite fluent and accredited to be, accredited interpreter.
So when these languages, were they part of your education or family connections? I mean, how did you, become so fluent in other languages?
Part of education, yes, but I grew up, in Croatia, so of course, Croatian's my mother's language, mother's tongue, then, Serbian language is very actually similar to Croatian language. So we all managed to talk the Serbian language. And after the war in Yugoslavia, we gained another language, which they call it Bosnian, which is combination of Serbian and Croatian.
Yes. So just so our viewers know, and even my history is not that strong. Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia were all part of the Yugoslavian Federation, or just Yugoslavia?
We had 6 republics in Yugoslavia, and as you listed, there was Croatia, Serbia, Bosnia, Slovenia, Montenegro, and Macedonia. There were 6 republics, and there are now 6 states, small states.
Okay, so when you came to Australia in 1992, you were fluent in English then?
Pretty much. I didn't mention Italian because I'm fluent in Italian. I grew up as well, like speaking Italian, and of course I was educated and learned at school Italian as well. But as you say, I was pretty fluent in English when I came, but I enrolled into a college for advanced English.
Okay. And when you came in 1992, were you already an established author?
Look, so I'll go now way back when I was 17. Okay.
Yeah.
When I was, I have always been writing. Yeah. Like in school, or little poems, little short stories. I loved short stories when I was young. Everyone was doing something. Going out, or I was sitting home writing short stories. So, if I used to go out with friends in some cafe, they would sit and be loud and talk, and then I would think, okay. And then I would separate myself, sit by myself somewhere in Sasha. And my friends knew that. And
no, that's good.
They were just like, I'll leave her alone. Yeah, that's sort of started like, very early. And I got in school some, little awards for writing and, going through different classes. They read my little stories and, and the teachers would say, you see, this is how one writes a story.
Oh, good.
And look, what happened in, I don't remember which year that was, but it was sometimes in early 80s. It was some competition organized by the state, and it was about, it's called Award for the Best Young Author. And in that category, you can enroll from 17 to 27. So that decade.
Oh, okay, yep.
Yeah. So, well, when I saw that, I thought, wow, that's a great challenge, great opportunity for me. And I have written a novel, which was called I Knew Jane Eyre. I was at 17 really much in love with the Bronte sisters.
Yeah.
And, like a story about
that title.
Yeah, was back then my favorite novel. And I read it, I don't know, like 5 times maybe. Like every few months I would read it. And, I was cared for words. I cared for beautiful sentences, actually.
Yeah.
So I sometimes read, not to read the story itself, but, when I find an author who appeals to me, the writing style, then I just read and reread. And, I read one passage 5 times and, I think, wow, that's written beautifully. So that was with Jane Eyre that I started a practice back then, like, wow, she writes so beautifully. And,
yes,
that young fantasizing, if I only, can write like that. And, then, I finished it in a couple of months. Every, girl, every boy I knew, they went, because I grew up in Adriatic Sea, in the town on the Adriatic Sea. And everyone went to the beach and, it was school holidays and everyone had good fun. I was sitting home and, typing on typewriter, when you hard. And I finished it in a couple of months and sent it off. It was in Belgrade, the competition. And I sent it off, and not to eat all my fingernails that summer before they announced
Yeah.
who received the award, I have written sequel to that story, and it was called In Search for Jane Eyre. So
Wow.
when the results came,
Yeah.
I just like all trembling, opening the envelope to see. Yeah, I received the second award, not the first.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah,
That's
and I was
fabulous.
the youngest person back then, who has written a novel and was awarded. I don't know after that, or probably I don't want to credit myself too much to say I was the youngest ever, but back then.
Yeah, yeah. So was the prize to publish your novel? Was that
Well,
the...
that was a little bit tricky. Yes, you're
Yeah.
right, because they promised they will publish first, second, and the third.
Yeah.
So there was a problem with the funding and some other recommendation. That was quite some time ago,
Yeah.
years ago plus. And what was and then there was started bad situation in Yugoslavia, because if we talk about war, you can't say war started such and such year.
Yeah.
I mean, it did, but that build up,
Yeah, it was brewing.
yeah, it was like sort of you could feel it.
Mm.
So like I gave up practically, but I didn't give up writing. So there was always something published from my side, a piece of poetry or short story or this or that in some local papers. And then I came to Australia, and I started.
So you must have, for being so young and writing, you must have felt that must have been a shot of confidence in your talent and in your ability to create a story, a full story, and hope, and reach an audience where people read it and go, oh, that's a good story. So you must have had a lot of confidence in yourself.
Well, I did.
Yeah, good.
I did, because somehow if you are good at something or not.
Yeah.
It's not the reason that everyone would say, teachers or my friends when they read it, it's really good. But I knew that I'm in a control of a story, that I'm in control of a plot, that I'm in a control of a language. So I felt that. So that gave me a lot of confidence. And being 17 and get such a important award. That gave me as well a lot of confidence. And when I came in Australia, look, that was a lucky circumstances that I wasn't one of migrants who needed to go to work straight away and look for a job. And I had privilege to do other things, and I started writing. There was a story that I was thinking quite a long time about, and I was writing it in my head. And that was a great opportunity then that I can sit and write. So I have written my first book, but it was written in Croatian.
And what was the name of your first book written in Croatian while you were in Australia?
My books are always close to me.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, this is my first book published, not written. I have few books that have written and never published.
Oh, yeah.
But this is the first book that I have published in Croatia.
And what's that? Sorry, what was that called?
In Croatian language. In Croatian language, it's called Flume, Rijeka teče. But look, that book I have years after translated myself,
yes,
and I have published the same book in English. And in English,
wow.
Yeah. And in English, it's called Flume, the Lost River.
Flume, lovely. Nice title.
In Italian means a river. That's why I said a lost river. Means river, but it is called it is the name of my hometown. Flume in Italian, Rijeka in Croatian. So this was the first book that I published in 1996 1986, I think. And after that, I published another book, which is called, in Croatian as well, Requiem for Barbara.
Oh, okay. The Sydney Harbour Bridge.
Your reaction, okay.
Yeah,
So that,
yeah.
okay, I want to explain. This book was published in 2000.
Oh,
Year
okay.
2000.
And what's that about, Branka?
I'll tell you. There's a little story to it because
Oh, good. Yeah.
I published this book in 2000 in Croatia, in Croatian language, and it's it's an elegy. It's a little bit sad book because it's about a young migrant woman, a young writer who comes
Yeah.
to Sydney,
Yeah.
and married a man she didn't really love, but I don't want to tell the whole story. It's not love story at all. But she fell ill, and she had a young child. And when she passed away, the child carries on, and the child tells her story.
Oh, wow.
And the child travels around certain destinations in order to put the mosaic together.
Mosaic, so does the character go back to Croatia?
Absolutely, you're correct. I don't mention in this book any locations except Sydney, because I didn't mention Croatia or anything else. But that book was quite popular, in Croatia. Especially my friends loved that book because they thought it's about me, but it's not about
But it's
me.
not.
People called me Barbara for many years.
Yeah, because you're still alive, for one.
Yeah, and then look, and 20 years later, I got a publisher from Serbia asked me if I'd like to publish the book in Serbian.
Oh, so the same book 20 years later in Serbian.
That's the same book that came
fantastic.
out in Serbian. And then when it came out in Serbian, a lot of my acquaintances, friends, or people that even don't know me, started asking me to translate it into English.
Oh, wow!
Which I did, especially when it was lockdown and all this.
You had lots of time.
I just translated a lot. Have written a lot.
Hold on, before you go on, did you write it in? Did you translate it into Serbian yourself?
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
I translate from Croatian to English, Croatian, Serbian, and etc. And look, now Tuesday today, and I'm waiting today, tomorrow, Thursday or Friday that my publisher in the States. My publisher is in the States, the main one, the one that I consider him to be my serious publisher and the best publisher that I ever had. He is going to publish it any moment, any day. From
in the United States.
In the States, and
wow.
and there is I can't show now the image, but there is already beautiful cover there already on my.
So that's pretty
page,
exciting.
My Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Also, I want to talk about. I read your great book Dethroned last year,
right.
And one of the reasons I loved it is because, for me, I've had some experience with military, with army, with being a man and being, being cruel and sometimes unhappy with the role that the soldiers have to play. But also, when I think of the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, this book seems to talk to me about people who are similar, but not the same. They are close, but far apart. That the nastiness, the brutality, and it sort of just rings true that the human conflict between what is a border, where does one culture live in opposition to another, and I guess those wars are trying to move those borders, and the people in the middle are the ones who are caught out in it, and the transformation of your main character, from a artist, he was an artist, a singer, into a brutal soldier, is happening right now, to young men in Ukraine and Russia right now, whose lives are being transformed by this clash of cultures where no one really knows what the answer is. And unfortunately, as in Yugoslavia, this war breaks out and it takes so long to come back together again. So what I want to ask is, people in Croatia and Serbia and Bosnia now, is the borders settled? Is the cultural, lives going on without animosity and hate?
That's a good and very complex question.
Yeah, I know. I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, you said about cultural differences. I'd rather call that ideological differences.
Okay, yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
Cultural differences are not absolutely none, but they're so small.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Minor, let's say that.
Yeah, because people have been living like this for decades,
and married each other, and kids.
Yeah.
They were, from mixed marriages, and you can't really draw the line and say this is really, I mean, you can say this is Croatian culture, this is Serbian. Of course, you can say that, but I address that in the book. It's such a vast that I don't feel comfortable to put it in a few sentences, because it wouldn't be fair.
Oh, no. So that's why I say people should read it.
Yeah. Because, as you say, it's a big book. It talks about it on 500 plus pages. So,
do you prefer to write short stories or novels? I mean, or is it a sense of how you feel when you write either one? It doesn't matter. But do you have a joy of short stories?
I like this question. Okay. Well, I consider myself to be a novelist because I have written and published 12 novels. No, I have written 15, but published 12. So I consider myself to be a novelist. And my novels are not easy, entertaining read. As you read, Dethroned, the other books are in similar fashion. Yeah. So it takes a lot out of me, a lot of emotions, a lot of my personality as well, a lot of thinking, a lot of researching.
Yeah.
But mainly it takes the emotional, physical toll to write such an encompassing novel as Dethroned. So whenever I go deep down into such emotions or philosophy or psychology of my characters, because often they are disturbed, they search for meaning, they search for themselves, they search for certain answers. Always they are in some sort of disadvantage, even when they appear to be advantaged in their life, in their life situation. So when I finish a novel, especially when I finish the Dethroned, funny thing is, when I finish a novel, I think, okay, this is the last one. I'm not writing anymore. I'm done. My daughter goes, yeah, Mom, I heard that. Sorry. But when I finished Dethroned or any other novel that is very engaging, and as I say, especially emotionally, I need fun. I need something light, and I need to create it myself. Yeah. So that's why I write short stories, to unburden myself, to actually to show myself and the world the lighter side, the fun side of me, because there is fun side of me. I can be funny and quirky, and I find characters that are really quirky, and it's easy to write a short story. It's not easy to write a novel, as you say, and especially a novel populated with so many characters.
Yeah.
And so many places, and you have to tie up all these loose ends and make a sense, and the story has to be logical and compact. And whilst with a short story is different. For me, short story can be torn out page from any book. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's good.
It's like, like sometimes I'm sitting somewhere walking along Balmoral Beach, and I see something, and it can be a short story.
So you've released collections of your short stories?
I have released 2 collections of short stories. Let me.
What are they called?
They were both published in English.
And what years?
This is a collection of short stories called The Lonely Poet and Other Tales. Right.
I like that.
Yeah, written in English, published in the States with my publisher speaking volumes. So, and then just a couple of years ago, this beauty came.
Yeah. I do recognize that one.
Yeah, 3 to Tango and Other Tales. They are short stories about, silly encounters on the dance floor.
Now, I do remember, I've read one of those. I have read one of those stories from that collection. The one about the tango lessons, and the bitterness between different partners who want, who want. I want you because you're better, and I want you because you're better. Yeah, I remember. No, that was. I know what you mean. Like, I guess a short story for me is a full book, but condensed so that you can read it in one sitting.
And you can stop anytime you want.
I let my hair down, sat under the tree, and by its nature the willow wept quietly instead of me. Your words, just like the tree bark, when bristle and dry, I sat under the willow tree and listened to its quiet cry.
Let me tell you, there is in this book, there is a story called Pia's Poem. Yeah. And I have published that before in the book. I have published because I always write for different literary magazine on my print. So I have published that story quite a long time ago, and it was called Pia's Poem. And Pia, the character from Dethroned, she appeared in that story, and I finished the story. It's a longish story, but it was quite interesting story. I got quite a great feedback for that story, and I really liked it. I had fun writing it. And what happened, funny thing, like after that short time after it, I started dreaming about that woman, or I would wake up 4 o'clock in the morning and I would start, I have a dialogue in the morning, or dialogue with someone, or monologue with, playing with my mind, or my mind's playing with me. And, so every morning I would, go through these dialogues and monologues. And I had a feeling that the character Pia, that she's talking to me and she's asking me to sit down again and write her story. And I was like, no, the story is finished. I don't have anything else to say. And look, it just continued every morning, 4 o'clock, ding.
So she's living inside you.
Yeah, haunted me. And do it. And then I, one morning, simply gave in. I gave up. And I said, okay, I'll sit and I'll see what this character wants from me.
Yeah.
And you read it and you know what she wants.
Yeah.
She wants to tell that actually harrowing story of the place and circumstances and all these people that were displaced, dispersed all over the world. I write, I start writing in one place. Usually that place is not necessarily, but usually it's my hometown.
Yeah.
I started here, but for a short while, a little bit of history, a little bit of background, but then I disperse my characters all over the world. My destination usually are Sydney, of course. Sydney, every book. Sydney, then London, then some place in Spain, or usually Andalusia, Cadiz, or Barcelona, or Madrid.
So you're well-traveled characters.
Yeah,
and also, I guess you're well-traveled, I assume.
And Milan, and Milan. And I lived in Spain for a short while.
Yeah.
Because I got some scholarship from Spanish ministry to, write trilogy, to finish my trilogy that I was writing. And this is the first volume of that trilogy. But it was written in Croatian. It's called Little Lies, Big Lies. And that's the only one book that I have in Croatian that's not translated into English. That's my new challenge.
So where is your home in your heart, Branka?
That's a good question. Where's my home? I mean, I get asked that question, especially when I come back home in Rijeka. People, they ask me that, where's my heart? Where's my heart? Where's my daughter's heart? Well,
Yeah.
Yeah. She's everything that I have here. But look, I have been living in Sydney for a long time. It's more than 30 years.
Yeah.
I came very young, and practically all my adult life, I lived in Sydney. And I love Sydney. It's a great city.
I did see on YouTube that the author, very well-known author, James Patterson, had read your book Dethroned, and he was totally rocked by it. Obviously you know about it, but how did you feel that someone as well-known as him has read your book and is trying to tell people, hey, read this book because it's bloody good?
So look,
do you know James Patterson?
I don't want to now appear to be
Oh no, it's okay.
Arrogant. There are quite a number of great authors that read my books, that I review my books.
Oh yeah.
I consider them friends, and I read my books. I read their books.
Yeah.
Like a couple of years ago, I went to London to visit one of my friends who is one of the greatest British authors. They even call him Dickens of 20th century, Michael Arditi, and he reads my books, and there are a number of good authors, like my good friend Mr. Caleb Purtle. He reviews my books. He's as well prolific, fantastic author. Then, as you say, James.
But I just personally love the way that James Patterson went out of his way to, he really felt strongly about this book. And I guess he's trying to say, it's an important book to read for literature, for history, for back, you know what I mean? And I thought that was just wonderful that, even look, James Patterson, I've never read, to tell the truth, I don't think I've ever read any books of his, but I see his name on the bookshelves. He's all over the place. So he's obviously well known. And that this writer takes the time to praise your book. I mean, surely that must feel, pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah, so good. I'm just trying to say that it's very, very impressive,
Yeah, it makes me,
and it makes, and then,
like then you understand that your purpose has been fulfilled. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That such feedback from known or even unknown. I get an email from or messages from people I never met. They said, "Oh, look, I read your book, and thank you very much for writing this book, Branka." Yeah. I sometimes put this little, praise on Facebook or Instagram, not to, brag about it, but rather to,
It's not bragging. It's not bragging at all. It's not bragging at all. I mean, it's
called The Mosaic of the Broken Soul. This one was published in the States, and that's the same book. And this was published in the UK. Wow. Right. So for this book, I got quite a lot of great feedback, and it's actually a book of my memoirs, which helps lots of women to cope with various problems and issues.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so what are you working on right now? Are you working on anything right now?
Working on walking down Balmoral, up and down, up and down.
Okay, and how about this? Can I ask you, can you explain to me how you go about writing a book? Do you write it down in one sitting? Do you plan it out? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's different ways of creating a book.
Yeah.
How do you come to, I know you don't write the whole book in one day, but how do you start the process to get to this end?
Okay, I started explaining that how I get these voices.
Yep.
Not really voices, like schizophrenic voices.
Yeah, no, but inspirational voices.
When I'm mentioning walking along Balmoral up and down, you know what that means for me. I walk by myself. I don't need anyone to walk with me.
Yeah.
Why am I walking? I'm walking because that clears my head. Not only clear, that's the time when I talk to myself, right?
Yeah. I
need a rhythm, like my sentences have to have a rhythm. That's when I think I need to have a rhythm when I'm building story. I can't sit now and look through the window, and
Okay.
I need to really walk and be by myself, and then I slowly start building ideas, building the story, and then I come back home, I sit at my laptop, and then I write. So that's my almost daily routine when I'm actively writing a novel. That solitary time for myself, couple of hours, or and then I have a cup of tea, just to everything settles in me, and then I come home and I know where I'm heading. I was joking then when I said, yeah, I'm working on walking at Balmoral. what am I working? Yeah, I'm working on that translation of Little Lies, Big Lies, the book.
Okay, yeah,
because somehow I want all of these books to be in English.
Anyway, this book is called Dethroned, and it's kind of an international epic. Branka Cubrilo is a wonderful writer, and Branka's new book Dethroned came out. I'm determined to read it, and this is an epic. It's after World War II in Serbia, Croatia, that part of the world, and they go from one war to another, and then to a civil war, and the fascists and the communists and the capitalists are all killing each other, and they just not stop. And the book is about, it's about a lot of things, but what I was tracking through the book were these two teenage girls who graduate from high school just as another war is breaking out.
And what happened, a friend of mine said, why don't you write in English? And I said, but well, it's not my first language. And she said, look, it's not your first language, but it's good enough. I'll help you edit. I'll help you edit your work. Cool. And and then, I just started writing in English. But the thing was, it's hard to get publisher in English, really hard. And I thought, but somewhere, deep down, probably I knew that's the right path. So what I've done, that was quite amazing as well. I have written parts of that book, because that book was written in my heart when I was in Andalusia. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I started writing that book, and parts of that book I put on some website that I had, some website where I, would put a little bit of my writing. And that American publisher, he found me. I just find him. He just sent me an email and says, look, Branka, I have written your, parts of your book or your writing. He says, I love your writing style. Your sentences, they flow beautifully. They have great rhythm. And I would be really happy to publish your work. And you know what? I thought, that's a joke. That's someone's. It's a prank. Someone's.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
I took that email to the lawyer. The lawyer did a research, and she says, Branka, he's legit.
Oh yeah.
He's a great publisher. So so that's how Again, I had a bit of luck.
All right. Can I ask you? Do you read? How much do you read? I mean, I know you're busy with writing. So how much of your time, do you enjoy reading for pleasure?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think all authors, they read. You go to read, Yeah, I do read. When I write, I don't read, because I don't want
to both,
to interfere with my work. I don't want that.
Yeah. But I mean, do you read books that are, say, different from how you write? I mean, are you? Is there any genres, horror or fantasy or
no,
love stories?
no, no. I don't read such books. I don't wanna, yeah, I don't wanna look down or put down any kind of.
Yeah. No,
but I don't read horror. I don't read wizard or
fiction.
I do fiction. I mean, science,
Sci-fi.
sci-fi. I don't read that.
So more like contemporary literature.
I like classics. I'm very classical.
Classic. Oh, okay. I'm just trying to look.
Anything that is similar to classics. I have several contemporary authors that I like.
Yeah.
I like anything, Gary, that's beautifully written. It has to be written beautifully. And
I'm just looking at my bookshelf to see if I can find anything to see if you've read it.
All right. Look, I got all these classics up there, and look, that's what I prefer.
So
really.
obviously, Jane Austen. I'd assume that you're talking about Jane Austen, the Brontes.
Yeah, but like European classics. I'm talking even like about
Tolstoy.
Russian classics: Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Turgenev. Yeah. Then like French literature, I like existentialists like Marcel Proust.
Proust, yeah.
After Simone de Beauvoir. Then
okay, yeah.
Balzac.
Hey, look,
back then, and
this is my Marcel Proust. I read this in one go, like I just picked it up and I didn't put it down for weeks.
Yeah, I can understand you. So that's kind of literature that interests me, and like then James Joyce. Then,
but I also read this.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Because I need a rest sometimes.
Yeah, that's why I write short stories for that.
Yeah, and the reason, look, let me tell you that when I read this, okay, the one of the reasons I, as a successful reader, can read, I can sit down and Proust or Stephen King, is because if you mix it up, like I read Stephen King seriously, it's like I'll read, say, if I read a really intense, deep book like this, my brain becomes so focused on the reading of the literature.
Yeah.
And when I pick up Stephen King, it kind of, it's like a pillow, like it relaxes my mind.
Yes.
So, I just wanted to say that I read like wide, but it's a choice you have to make because
absolutely
there's so much.
I can't read book that does not appeal to me.
Yeah.
On many levels. I open the book and I read first chapter, and I think no, I can't read it more than that. Or I have like, oh yeah, that's what I want to read. For what you say, you take it light literature as a chewing gum for your brain. Just
yes.
I do other things, sort of, I go and dance, I'm dancing,
Yeah. Oh, no, that's lovely.
Yeah.
What, the tango? You're learning the flamenco?
And I have, light conversations there, and we laugh and, flirt a little bit.
Yes. Oh, that's good.
That's that. Yeah. So, or I ride a bike, or, other activities.
Yeah.
But, rather read good book.
Okay, yeah.
With something that's good for me, Yeah.
So before I go, I just wanted to say where can people find your books, Branka? Where can they go to buy them, to read them?
Yeah. Look, like any author, you
Amazon?
can find me on Amazon, of course. You can find me on Barnes Noble.
Okay, cool. Barnes, that's the American company, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and they're great. I rather point people towards
Barnes and Noble
than Amazon.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. So Barnes and Noble, people.
And and local people here in in Sydney, there's in Mossman there is a little bookstore where my books are as well. And I think in Dimox as well. And,
good.
Yeah.
So you're very accessible.
No, I believe so. I really sometimes don't know, Gary. I don't chase and look around. Like the other day, I was somewhere and walked into the bookstore, and there was on the shelf, it says staff recommends.
Oh, yeah.
Staff recommends, and I found there 3 to Tango.
Oh, well, there you go.
So then I took a photo. I said, yay, look at this.
Yes, so that's good.
And Dethroned was as well before there, and it's nice to see that. But look, I think a lot of people I order books online. It's the quickest way.
Okay.
I order the book.
Yeah.
On Amazon, as I said, I just rather pick someone else.
Noble.
Yeah, that's my
Okay, so that was a great talk. Thank you very much for giving me your time. I appreciate it. And like I said, I mean, I've only unfortunately read only one of your books.
Right.
But I hope, and I highly like James Patterson, a good friend of mine. I highly recommend that people read Branka Cubrilo's Dethroned. That's a fabulous book. I really, really loved it. So thank you very much for coming on, and well, I look forward to hearing more about you.
Thank you, Gary, for the opportunity, and thank you to whoever listened.
Yes.
Patience, listen from
It's building. It takes time
from the beginning till the end. We'll share it. So I think it's everything is good that people hear about certain.
It's about reading in community and books. So,
absolutely.